Hi there, this is Tam Wendell with Bushcraft on Fire, and I decided to take advantage of the pause that we're having between all our rainstorms here. If you listen carefully, you can hear our woods sound like there's a waterfall going through. And what I decided to do was take a hike down to the bottom and do a scout out for wild edibles. I'd like to get some wild edibles canned, so let's see what we can find as we hike down there. Alright, before we hike down, I wanted to remember to show you my arm. I kept promising an update where I had that burn from the exhaust pipe of my rototiller. As you can see, the burn has totally healed. There's no scarring. So just to keep that as a reminder for your travels, ribwort plantain not only helps in the speedy healing of burns, but it also helps with no scarring. Well, if you take a look with me over here, you can see the water is collecting in little valleys through the woods. Heading on down to the bottom where our semi-permanent shelter is. So that's where we're headed to. Way down on the bottom. It's sort of fascinating when you're scouting downhill. I'm going to zoom in here. You can see the water is coming from underground and then catching up with the various streams that are heading downhill here. But this hole is coming from underground. Here I am at the bottom, and our little seasonal trickle has now made a pretty little creek. There's more water coming from off the edge of the hill. And whereas it was sort of all dry wood laying around before, you can see the shelter there. So now it's time to scout around and see what we can find for edibles. And here, it looks to be wild raspberry. And over here I see some poke. And as beautiful as plants they are, there's not near enough there for a meal or for canning. Over here, dews come up to a bunch of chickweed that's now underwater. Try to zoom in here. All of that is chickweed. You can see it in the water. Okay, I've come across more of these blackberries. It's kind of interesting. I'm going to try to zoom in here. Show you the tips of these plants are gone. I'm going to have to be diligent to come down here to pick because I'm noticing the tops of all these blackberries are gone, which means I'll be sharing the blackberries with the deer around here. You see all these blossoms. They're little wild rose bushes. But these are good to remember their location to come back to pick the wild rose hips. They're full of nutrients and vitamin C. Here I come across another big patch of chickweed. And mixed in it Here, these are cleavers. Try to show you. They're called cleavers. They have little stickies and they cling to your clothing. Both the cleavers and the chickweed are great to chop them small and boil them up. Here's another shot of cleavers that are stuck to my skirt. Can't shake them off. It's like Velcro. It's a kind of a pretty shot of water coming off the edge. What we've come across here is a patch of what they call May apples, and you have to look underneath them to find fruit, but we seldom do because the rabbit and deer usually take everything around here. Let's see. Here's one. Here's another one. A very interesting plant. Just one shoot comes out of the ground with these uniquely shaped leaves. Zoom in on a couple more here. So there you have them. You don't eat these until after the first cold frost, so if there's anything left, you'll have a little treat. This here is sassafras. They're just little shoots coming out of the ground, and you don't want to pull them out of the ground, but while you're walking along, they make for tasty little trail nibbles, and you can add them in your soups as well. Alright, we've moved away from the creek, and we're going up the hill, and I came across just what I was looking for. See if I can show you. It's just piles and piles of poke. So I'll be coming out here, gathering a bunch of poke up and canning it. So let me show you what I do when I'm gathering poke. They tell you not to pick the ones that have red stalks. You can see when you go down further, this one's actually just very lightly tinged pink. I'll see if I can find you the purple looking ones. But what I do is I come to the plant and I generally get about there. You take that piece off. And then I wash up the leaves, and I personally bring them to a boil twice for 10 minutes, and then I pop them in the canner. Alright, looks like we've come across a gooseberry tree. There's actually several of these bushes, not trees, around, and if you notice, they're pretty green. They actually go purple, but if you wait until all your berries are purple, chances are you really won't have much of a harvest, as the birds love them just as much. So it's okay to pick these while they're still green and make your jams out of them, or jelly. Well, this is Tam Wendell with Bushcraft on Fire. I'm picking some gooseberries here to bring in. And thank you for joining me on my hike and checking out the wild edibles. And I'll have to get back to you later as I'll be busy canning poke.